You can feel it. A little chill in the morning air, briskness against your skin in the morning. The lawn isn't growing as fast as it used to. It crunches a little more under your feet. Leaves on the trees are starting to turn different shades of color, away from the bright greens. School's starting. Hear the school bus engines roar in the distance. Everything, it seems, is slowing down a little, except one thing. It's a staple of this time of year, always has been. Sounds of grunts and growls, a lot of pushing and shoving, and absolutely no holding. Hard workers preparing for a job. A lot to do, a lot to show, a lot to prove. Hard lines, hash marks, X's and O's, a lot of film, and just plain old hard work. And they can use these lessons throughout life. It's the season we've all been expecting it. Hello, I'm David Sullivan at Madison Southern High School. It's time for high school football. And this is the premiere episode of the John Clark Show. David Sullivan here with Coach Clark. We're here at the brand new football field here at Madison Southern. I want to talk to you about that and the dedication in a little bit. First of all, I want to talk about John Clark. You've got quite a resume in coaching. Kind of give the fans a little background on your background in coaching and how you got to be here.
Sure. I grew up in Indiana, and I started my football career playing college football at Ohio University. And I was one of the unfortunate athletes that had a severe knee injury that ended my playing career. And I realized real quick that I wasn't meant to do what everybody else was doing 9 to 5. So I started working as a student assistant coach right away. And then I spent a few years as a graduate assistant at Ohio. From there, I took an opportunity to go over to Europe and coach to get on my own. And then after that, I came back to the United States, had a great opportunity to coach at Auburn University pretty early in my career. I worked with the centers and the guards at Auburn during the 2006 season. Had a chance to be on a pretty good team that was top 5 in the nation. We won the Cotton Bowl that year. After that, I went back to Europe and I coached with the Swedish national team. We played in the World Championships in Tokyo, Japan, which was a really neat experience. From there, I came back to the United States again. Ended up at Syracuse University. Worked as the assistant to the offensive coordinator for a season at Syracuse. Spent a year and a half after that with the Atlanta Falcons. Left the Atlanta Falcons, went to Warren Central High School. That was my first experience in high school in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's I think they're 3rd in the nation currently. It's a very good high school program. We won the state championship. Decided I really liked high school, but I wanted to take one more run at the college game. Went to Idaho State. Missed the relationships with the high school kids and the experience at high school, and left Idaho State, and here I am at Madison Southern.
Here you are.
Yeah.
You've taken over a program. You're building it, I know, to be your kind of football team. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to accomplish with this team this year?
Well, number one, we've done a total renovation of everything. The great thing about the situation here was, and this isn't meant to be any offense to anybody that played here before, but you don't walk through this school and feel tradition. You don't see tradition. There's been nothing here that's carried over since the program began back in the 80s. So the great thing about it was we get to rebuild this from the ground up and do it in a way that the tradition carries on from now. And that's been the best thing. It's been like starting a program from scratch the way you want to do it from day one.
just recently you dedicated the field. You had a scrimmage here. We're going to take a quick break right now and take a look at some excerpts from the dedication ceremony.
The parachutes used by the Screaming Eagles are high-performance ram air canopies made of a lightweight ripstop nylon. These parachutes are highly maneuverable and have a forward speed of approximately 20 miles per hour. In the jumper's hand are steering toggles attached to the rear canopy. To turn left, the jumper simply pulls on the left toggle, and to turn right, pulls on the right toggle. As you see in the target area is Staff Sergeant Sean Carter, a food preparation specialist with over 100 jumps, and Sergeant Brandon Quisenberry, a combat infantryman with over 100 jumps. They are performing the difficult task of ground control. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for these two soldiers. As the jumpers turn on their final approach, they will shift all of their attention to the little black dot in the center of the target. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Staff Sergeant Kevin Presgraves, the first jumper coming in today. Military police officer with over 900 jumps and his last jump with the team. And the second jumper coming in today, flying the American flag, is Sergeant Matt Thody, a combat infantryman from Wisconsin. With over 600 jumps, make some noise for Sergeant Matt Thody, ladies and gentlemen. And following right behind him is Staff Sergeant Jared Goff, a combat infantryman from Idaho, with 600 jumps.
We'd like to thank our sponsors: Luxury Pets, the home of the happy dogs; the law firm of Luxon and Patterson; Riptide on the River Restaurant; Hopper's Jewelry; Jerry Goebel State Farm Insurance Richmond; Dr. Dan Sipples Chiropractic Healthcare; Central Bank; Williams Tax and Financial Services; Regal Beagle Downtown Richmond; ERA Professional Hometown Services; Hall & Sons Auto Care; Berea Children's Champion; Reynolds Plumbing; Skipworth Veterinary Clinic; Super Save; Sight Savers Family Eye Care; Mackenzie Morgan Music; Davenport Custom Guitars, your local repair connection; First Gear in Richmond; Guardian Bank, home of the $250 deal. Listen to the John Clark Show on WWAG Radio, real country playing stars and legends. This segment of the John Clark Show is being sponsored by Sipples Chiropractic Healthcare, Dr. Dan in Berea and in Richmond. The night of that dedication that we just saw some excerpts from, you had a scrimmage. I know you had some storms coming through and it kind of delayed it, but kind of give me a wrap-up of what you saw and how you felt about some of the action in that game.
We'd had a scrimmage the week prior to as well, and big changes in a week. We felt we got a lot better at a lot of things. There's still mistakes. We're a very young football team, but one thing we know is offensively, we've got a pretty explosive group of kids. We feel like we can score at any time from anywhere on the field. Defensively, we've still got work to do, but they're learning. They're learning how to tackle. They're learning how to fill their gaps, and they've gotten better week to week. Special teams has been something we've put a big emphasis on. We had a block punt in the scrimmage. It was a mistake. You know, schematically it's there. We made a mistake. Our detail is not as great as it needs to be on our special teams, and we were missing our starting kicker was at a soccer game as well. So that's something that won't happen from here on out. Our kicking game should be significantly better. So, but there were a lot of positives. The thing I like is our kids are relentless throughout the game. If we get down, we will never be out. They realize we can score from anywhere at any time. And I think that the first drive, I think it was, we scored in 16 seconds. Somebody told me that was the fastest opening touchdown ever at Madison Southern. So that's exciting to know that we can do that. The week before we were down 21, came back and scored 3 touchdowns unanswered in about 3 minutes. So we feel we can get back into a game at any point, which I think our kids understand that as well.
And what did you see on an individual basis offensively that you really liked out of this?
We've got a couple decent running backs. We really do. We've got a guy by the name of Cody Russell. Cody's going to be a junior for us this year, and Cody hasn't played football in a few years. The way I found Cody was doing backflips standing in the gym the first time I ever came to a basketball game, cheerleading. He's one of our male cheerleaders. And I said, you got to be kidding me, this guy's doing standing backflips. So he was one of the first people I found when I got the job. Cody is, not only is Cody a great kid, but he is a phenomenal athlete. And he's really coming into his own as his work ethic and learning the game. He's a guy that can run between the tackles and can take it the distance when he breaks free. I think Cody had, off the top of my head, I think he had about 6 carries for probably close to 100 yards on Friday night. The week before, he had a 50-yard run that was called back on a questionable lineman in the backfield called. But he's really developing into a great blocker and runner. We have another young man, Damian Harris, is a freshman for us. He's been with our freshman team up to this point. Damian, we gave him his first varsity experience. He had 2 touches and 2 touchdowns. So he's a young man that is no question a big play threat for us.
We'll be back and talk more Madison Southern football with Coach John Clark after this.
We'd like to thank our sponsors: Luxury Pets, the home of the happy dogs; the law firm of Luxon and Patterson; Riptide on the River Restaurant; Hopper's Jewelry; Jerry Goebel State Farm Insurance Richmond; Dr. Dan Sipples Chiropractic Healthcare; Central Bank; Williams Tax and Financial Services; Regal Beagle Downtown Richmond; ERA Professional Hometown Services; Hall & Sons Auto Care; Berea Children's Champion; Reynolds Plumbing; Skipworth Veterinary Clinic; Super Save; Sight Savers Family Eye Care; McKenzie Morgan Music; Davenport Custom Guitars, your local repair connection; First Gear in Richmond; Guardian Bank, home of the $250 deal. Listen to the John Clark Show on WWAG Radio, real country playing stars and legends. We'd like to thank our sponsors: Time Warner Cable. Watch the Coaches Show on the Madison County Schools Channel 9. Watch the Coaches Show on Time Warner Cable Channel 5. This segment of the John Clark Show is brought to you by Waffle House.
We continue now with John Clark, head football coach at Madison Southern High School. John, you have made reference to the weight training and how important some of the off-season type of training and during the season training is. What have you got going with your team now, and what are you looking for?
Well, coming into this season, one of the first things I noticed is, even way prior to the season, back in February when I took the job, was there was, you walk the hallways, I didn't see a lot of muscular kids walking around. I saw decent frames, but nobody had any muscles on them. I dug a little deeper, and they haven't had a great tradition here and a demand for a weight program. Facilities wasn't an issue. So what we did is, the first thing we did, we implemented 6:30 a.m. workouts. And if you want to do this, you're going to work the way we want you to work, or we're going to get up and do it before everybody else does. 4 days a week. We started off that first one, I think we had about 30 kids. By the end of the second week, we were up to 44, and by the end of spring, we're sitting at about 55 through those workouts. But the tenacity in the weight room was something that was lacking. It was more of a deal where they went into the weight room and they knew there were weights there, but they weren't really sure what to do with them. So we taught them that those weights are not there to collect dust, that it's something that you need to attack the weights the way you need to attack an opponent on Friday night. We came a long way, no question, in our weight program. Some guys in a 4 to 5 month span, squat went up 150 pounds. I think roughly on our team now, we probably have 30 guys power cleaning over 200 pounds. We need to get to where there's 30 guys power cleaning over 250. And that's, and 20 guys, 30 guys benching 300. That's when we know when we're where we need to be. We're still weight program wise. It's going to take another year or two to get to where we really need to be. No question.
But you're seeing the buy-in from your athletes?
Oh, sure, they love it. In fact, during camp, when fall camp starts, you back off on the weights a little bit to put the pads on. They're really hungry to get the pads on. And we're halfway through the first practice. Coach, when are we going to lift again? So, they're anxious to get back in the weight room. And a lot of them, when we started hitting the weights here again, as school started a little bit harder again, they just, numerous players have said, man, it feels really good to be in here again. It's kind of where it all started.
What about other conditioning type work that you've done, speed, agility, and those kinds of things? That's
a good question. I can't give you all my secrets. No, but one of the big things is we've been very fortunate. My brother is a strength conditioning coach. He's a certified strength coach. He's a personal trainer up in Lexington, and we really examined our program, and we looked at it back in May, and what kind of program are we going to be? Are we going to pound people? Are we going to be big and physical? Or are we going to be a team that utilizes speed and scheme? And just really looking at it as we progressed, we've got some guys that can run. So we actually spent a better part of 2.5 months doing speed training. If you would have come out to one of our workouts, it would probably look like a track practice, not in the sense that we're running 100-meter sprints. We've got our kids sitting on the ground, teaching them how to swing their arms properly, teaching them how to gait with the proper footwork when they run, doing a lot of agilities, a lot of form running, and then all the other things that go into speed training. And it's made a big impact for our program.
Let's take a break right now and meet some of the players and the positions that they play.
Brett Sipple, middle linebacker. Adam Simpson, quarterback.
Cody Russell, running back.
AJ Johnson, offensive tackle, tight end.
Austin Sipple, O-line.
Sean Boggs, defensive line.
Devontae Linville, cornerback, quarterback. Drew Wright, O-line.
We'd like to thank our sponsors: Luxury Pets, the home of the happy dogs; the law firm of Luxon and Patterson; Riptide on the River Restaurant; Hopper's Jewelry; Jerry Goebel State Farm Insurance Richmond; Dr. Dan Sipple's Chiropractic Healthcare; Central Bank; Williams Tax and Financial Services; Regal Beagle Downtown Richmond; ERA Professional Hometown Services; Hall & Sons Auto Care; Berea Children's Champion; Reynolds Plumbing; Skipworth Veterinary Clinic; Super Save; Sight Savers Family Eye Care; Mackenzie Morgan Music; Davenport Custom Guitars, your local repair connection; First Gear in Richmond; Guardian Bank, home of the $250 deal. Listen to the John Clark Show on WWAG Radio, real country playing stars and legends. This segment of the John Clark Show is brought to you by Waffle House.
Sipple Chiropractic is helping bring you and sponsor this edition of the John Clark Coaches Show. I'm David Sullivan. Dr. Dan in Berea and Richmond. We're glad to have them on board as one of our primary sponsors.
Yeah, I'd recommend him.
Coach, when you look at these young men that you're working with in football, what life lessons can you communicate to them? Because we all know when you play a sport like football, I think you learn a lot that you can take on through your whole life.
I know it's helped me get to the point that I am today. We actually put a premium on that life lesson. Something that we do here that I'm very proud of, that's very different than a lot of programs, is that we actually have a leadership and development program that we do throughout the year. We actually call it our War Eagle Initiative, teaching our men to be better people, to be people to go on to become positive young men and contribute to society. You know, and we do that we do a virtue of the week. Every week we teach our young men a virtue. You know, last week it was iron-willed, what it means to be iron-willed. And we give a lesson on that and how that relates to the football field and in the classroom and in your personal life. This week it's determination. So we constantly are teaching them situations to where we can learn from. I know in both scrimmages we've had to this point as well, there's something we've mentioned and underlined, kind of a bigger picture of what took place in an evening and how we can learn from that in life and not just football. And it's definitely something that we put an emphasis on, and our kids are really starting to learn from that, I think, as well. Character-wise, we've grown up a lot. You've
been working with these young men now for several months, and you're getting ready, poised to go into the football season as we tape this show. What are your expectations? What are you hoping to see them and you be able to accomplish in this first season?
That's a great question. You know, my biggest expectation for us is to become a close team, a brotherhood. We talk about it all the time. We call it the brotherhood. No matter what happens, or whether things are going great or things are down, you've got to stay together. There's always going to be people that are going to doubt you, especially, you know, let's face it, 210 in the last 4 years. So there's always going to be negative Nancys out there. Well, it's not about them. It's about us and what we do and what we put into it. We can't control anybody else. We can control our effort and our attitude. So our positive attitude has been something that our kids have done a great job with, and that's one of our big emphasis. Another big emphasis, that something we're looking for this year, is to get better every play of every practice to practice, game week to game week. We don't look at it as we have to necessarily win this game. We look at this game as another opportunity to get better for the next week. We're constantly talking about improving, so by the end of the season, we're a completely different team than we were when we started the season.
Well said. We'll be back with more in just a minute. Stay with us.
Watch The John Clark Show on YouTube, Facebook, RosenbaumCommunications.com, and MadisonSouthernFootball.com. The John Clark Show is the property of Rosenbaum Communications, and distribution and recordings by any means is prohibited. To order quality copies of the program, please visit RosenbaumCommunications.com for information. We'd like to thank our sponsors: Luxury Pets, the home of the happy dogs; the law firm of Luxon and Patterson; Riptide on the River Restaurant; Hopper's Jewelry; Jerry Goebel State Farm Insurance Richmond; Dr. Dan Sipples Chiropractic Healthcare; Central Bank; Williams Tax and Financial Services; Regal Beagle Downtown Richmond; ERA Professional Hometown Services; Hall & Sons Auto Care; Berea Children's Champion; Reynolds Plumbing; Skipworth Veterinary Clinic; Super Save; Sight Savers Family Eye Care; Mackenzie Morgan Music; Davenport Custom Guitars, your local repair connection; First Gear in Richmond; Guardian Bank, home of the $250 deal. Listen to The John Clark Show on WWAG Radio, real country playing stars and legends.
I want to give our thanks to the Madison County School System for their support, also to Rosenbaum Communications and Time Warner Cable for helping make all this show possible. Coach John Clark, when you talk about making things possible, making a football program possible, you can't do it alone. You need a school system to back you up, and you need boosters within the school itself.
No question. It's something that throughout my coaching career, I've known for a while I wanted to become a high school head coach. It just felt like the right fit for me. I've looked at a lot of different programs over the last few years, and you kind of have a list of things that you have to check off in order to take a job. And the biggest draw for me here was the support from the administration, the school board, and the parents. It's what sold the job to me. Our administration has done everything they can to make this. They want this to be a successful place for kids. Our school board has been supportive. When you call them and tell them we've tripled the size of the football team and I need helmets to put them in, and they do what they can to get that done for you, that's support. I haven't had to turn a kid away yet for lack of equipment, and that's awesome. My booster club has been amazing. It's been a big transition for them. We've gone from a team of 25 to 30 kids to a team of 85 kids, and the work has tripled. And to be honest, the amount of parents to come into the booster club, you think it'd triple, but it doesn't always happen that way. So we've got a group of parents that just bend over backwards for what we need to support. Some of them have kids in the program, some of them don't. So if you were here this past Friday night scrimmage, it was an unbelievable atmosphere. One of the biggest crowds I was informed that they've ever had here. And our boosters work that whole game. They run the chains, they take tickets, they make concessions possible, they're in the press box when a lot of them have kids on the field. So the support from them has been absolutely amazing. And if you missed that crowd on Friday night, you need to come see it. It was pretty awesome atmosphere.
We'll be back with more in just a minute. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm David Sullivan.
And I'm Tommy Floyd, Superintendent with Madison County Schools.
We'd like to introduce you to two new high school sports programs. Watch the new Madison Central High School Football Coaches Show with Bert Brown and the Madison Southern High School Football Show with John Clark.
The shows will air on Madison County Schools Channel 9 as well as Time Warner Cable Channel 5.
Get in-depth thoughts and comments from coaches and players throughout the season. So if you enjoy local high school sports and the value and character they build, join us.
Because every student counts.
Give you a reminder, you can see the John Clark Show in various places. You can see it on YouTube, you can see it on Facebook, the Madison County Schools Channel 9, and Time Warner Cable Channel 5. Also, the Madison Southern Football.com.
It's a lot of places to view it. That's great.
We're all over the place.
I love it.
Let's move forward and look at your season, the schedule, the games you've got coming up. We're sitting here talking before you've played a game.
Sure.
But what do you think? What do you see?
Well, it's a completely different schedule than they've played in the past. Whole new district. We're one of the smaller schools, if not the smallest school in 5A now. So we're in a 5A district. We start off with 4 non-district opponents. Then we get into district play, and then we end the season at Garrett County. So I know there's some good football teams on the schedule. Watching the scoreboard this last week, they're scoring some points. So we know moving forward we're going to have to score points this season to be competitive. One thing is being someone that's from out of state. I'm not from Kentucky. I can't tell you how good every team we're going to play is right now, but I know that we're starting to get a feel for it with who we've scrimmaged and seeing what some scores are, and there's no question it's going to be a tough schedule, but if we get better week to week, it should be interesting to see where we end up.
You're going to address the team as it's one game at a time? And
no question, and to be honest, we don't focus a whole lot on other people right now. I'm focused on us improving from week to week. If we're a better team every day and better team from Friday to Friday, it doesn't matter who's across from us, we've just got to get better.
Okay, we'll be back in just a minute.
We'd like to thank our sponsors: Luxury Pets, the home of the happy dogs; the law firm of Luxon and Patterson; Riptide on the River Restaurant; Hopper's Jewelry; Jerry Goebel State Farm Insurance Richmond; Dr. Dan Sipples Chiropractic Healthcare; Central Bank; Williams Tax and Financial Services, Regal Beagle Downtown Richmond, ERA Professional Hometown Services, Hall & Sons Auto Care, Berea Children's Champion, Reynolds Plumbing, Skipworth Veterinary Clinic, Super Save, Sight Savers Family Eye Care, Mackenzie Morgan Music, Davenport Custom Guitars, your local repair connection. First Gear in Richmond, Guardian Bank, home of the $250 deal. Listen to The John Clark Show on WWAG Radio, real country playing stars and legends.
Coach, we have just a couple minutes left here in this particular show. Talk to us a little bit and tell us about your assistant coaching staff.
You're going to get a chance to meet a few of them. We're going to bring them on here occasionally because I've been blessed. Being somebody that's not from here, you always wonder when you take a job somewhere about putting a staff together. I made some phone calls to some people I knew right away. I'm going to put an argument out there that this has got to be one of the better staffs, if not the best staff in the state of Kentucky. A lot of experience, 3 former Division I football players, 3 former head coaches, guys that have coached in Kentucky, in Indiana. I mean, we have a great deal of experience, and on top of all that, they want to be here. They're guys that they love football, but they love building young men first. They're here at every workout. They're in the weight room every day. It's a pretty neat dynamic. So you get a chance to meet a couple of those guys as we go. But it's a great group.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks to Sipples Chiropractic for sponsoring this. Thanks to Rosenbaum Communications, Time Warner Cable, and thanks to the Madison County Schools. I'm David Sullivan. We'll see you next time.
We'd like to thank our sponsors: Luxury Pets, the home of the happy dogs; the law firm of Luxon and Patterson; Riptide on the River Restaurant; Hopper's Jewelry; Jerry Goebel State Farm Insurance Richmond; Dr. Dan Sipples Chiropractic Healthcare; Central Bank; Williams Tax and Financial Services; Regal Beagle Downtown Richmond; ERA Professional Hometown Services; Hall & Sons Auto Care; Berea Children's Champion; Reynolds Plumbing; Skipworth Veterinary Clinic; Super Save; Sight Savers Family Eye Care; Mackenzie Morgan Music; Davenport Custom Guitars, your local repair connection; First Gear in Richmond; Guardian Bank, home of the $250 deal. Listen to The John Clark Show on WWAG Radio, real country playing stars and legends. Watch The John Clark Show on YouTube, Facebook, RosenbaumCommunications.com, and MadisonSouthernFootball.com. The John Clark Show is the property of Rosenbaum Communications, and distribution and recordings by any means is prohibited. To order quality copies of the program, please visit RosenbaumCommunications.com for information.